Hey guys, Lucas here, and today we're going to do some street photography in Tokyo as always. Now the area behind me is called Ueno, and it's famous for that street market you can see over there. But what I want to do before we start shooting is talk to you guys about focus modes. All right? So today I'm going to cover 3 different ways that I focus when doing photography, especially when it comes to moving subjects. We're going to talk about tracking autofocus, snap focus, and the regular pinpoint, center point focus. Okay? And of course, if you like the video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and any comments or questions you have, leave them below, and I'll be glad to go in there and check them and answer them as best as I can. All right? So let's get shooting. So before we do anything, I do want to talk about settings for just the actual shot of what I want to do. Now what I'm going for, because the point is to talk about shooting moving subjects, is I want to do panning shots of the cars going by. Because when we get the motion blur, you get a really nice, blur with this background. There's a lot of cool colors back there that'll give a nice effect. So my settings are, I'm fully on manual, I'm on f16 and 100 ISO to keep basically as little light in the camera as possible because it's so bright out here. And then I'm on a 30th of a second. Now actually in this light, that would typically lead to overexposure. But the RICOH has a secret weapon for this. It has a built-in ND filter. So I actually went into the menu. The default setting is that it's on auto, but sometimes it doesn't kick in when I want it. So I just manually chose the ND filter on, which I believe it's a 2-stop ND filter, 2-stop reduction. So that gives me the correct exposure. So if I take a normal shot just right now, without any padding or anything, the exposure is spot on, even though I'm only on a 30th in this bright sunny weather. Okay, so that's the photo settings, out of the way. All right, hold up for a second. Future Lucas here, guys. So I got home from the shoot and I looked through my photos and I realized something was wrong. They were all a little bit blurry, and not because they were out of focus. So the focus modes I'm going to talk about worked fine, but everything was just like a little bit motion blurred in a way that I wasn't expecting. Of course, we're doing motion blurred photos, so of course there's going to be motion blur. But what I came to realize is that the shake reduction, the SR function, or also known as in-body stabilization in the GR3, was actually trying to compensate quite strongly for the panning motion. So although I love that functionality in the camera and I use it all the time, especially at night, for these particular shots, it actually wasn't helping. So I went back to the scene later, tried again with the SR off, and the results were much, much better. So just wanted to make that quick tip that if you're doing panning shots, try with the SR off. Of course, try with that on too and see what works best for you. All right, so back to past Lucas. Now let's talk about the focus modes. The first one I'm going to use is the typical standard one, which I use most often in my photography. So I'm going to have the focus point right in the center, okay? Make sure that it's there. Yeah, I have it on the select AF, or we can even do pinpoint AF, so it's even smaller, right? The little tiny point in the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-focus. So when I'm doing the panning shot, I know where the car is going to be. I want the car to be right in the middle against that background. So therefore, I don't have to focus on it over there. I'm just going to focus on the scene right here. Okay? And then once the car is coming, I'll do the panning motion while holding the button down halfway. So I'll never let go of the button from halfway, even as I take shots, so that I don't have to focus each time. Now, of course, on f16, I get so much depth of field that I don't need it to be perfect, right? But even at night, if I was shooting on f2.8, same deal. I would just try to guess, okay, the cars are going to be somewhere out there, right? There they come. And then I start, even though I'm still focused over there, I'm going to follow it from there. Here we go, let's get this guy on the bike. Okay. Maybe 1 or 2 more cars. I could also, now, there is the issue that sometimes the cars are in the far lane, sometimes in the close lane. So that's actually a different focus point. So I do need to change it if I want to focus on the nearer cars versus the farther cars, because that will look a little bit different. All right. And the annoying thing is they're going a little bit slow, which actually makes it a little bit trickier. So now we're going to try another focus mode. We're going to try with snap focus. So it's not going to be much different, but basically I'm going to choose a particular distance. I'm not going to use the full press snap where I have to mash it down quickly. I'm just going to turn it on. So I've set my function button on the back here to turn snap focus just on all the time. So I have it on, I have snap focus on, and then I'm going to choose a distance, and I'm going to choose 5 meters. Because at f16, on 5 meters, pretty much everything from right in front of me to there is according to the gauge here in focus. Now there's levels to it where like the middle of that focus area is going to be sharper than the one right in front of me, but it should be good enough. So we'll try it again on snap focus. So in a sense, snap focus is going to be even easier because I don't even have to worry about pre-focusing. It's just good to go. All I have to do is move the camera along with the car and push the button. Okay, here we go. Little side note, the trick when doing panning shots is to follow through. That's what I always tell people who join my workshops. If I try to stop right when the car is in the right spot, when I take a photo, it usually doesn't turn out so good. So as I take the photo, I follow through. It's like golf or tennis or something. Okay, here we go. All right, like that. Let's try to get these people on the bicycle here. They're a little bit too close maybe for the snap focus distance, but we'll just try. I can quickly go to 2.5 meters for this guy here. Okay. Yeah, and it's hard to judge. So you see snap focus here. I feel like sometimes it's sharp. Sometimes I'm not judging it right because whether it's 5 meters or 2 meters, it's not always exactly one of those, even though I have a lot of extra depth of field. I prefer to usually use snap focus when I can control the distance for every single shot. And I can't here because I can't stand out in the street. I'll get run over, right? So the pre-focus method so far is preferable because I can pre-focus at whatever distance I need and then shoot the cars at that exact distance. It's more precise. So that's that. Now we're going to set up for the last method. So I'm going to turn snap focus back off. I'm going to go to my focus modes using the adjustment wheel on the back here. And I'm just going to choose tracking AF. And that's it. Easy peasy. Now, at this point, whatever I put the, on the, like the tracking point starts in the center. And whatever I start focusing on after I hold the button down, the camera will follow that subject. Okay, but here we go. We're going to start trying with the tracking mode. It's still doing a great job. It's locking right onto the subject and tracking them well. In terms of my, like how I'm shooting, it is a little bit tricky because I do have to wait for a very brief but noticeable moment for the tracking to start, right? It just takes a very brief second for the camera to start focusing, which is totally normal. That's how these things work on any camera. But the window for shooting here is very short, so I have to pick up the subject after they come out of the shadow there, so that I can actually see them, because otherwise it's too dark. But I do have the benefit compared to the other two modes that I never worry about the distance. I can shoot the cars far away. I can shoot the bicycles right up close. I don't have to change my snap focus distance. I don't have to redo my my pre-focus distance. It's just, I've just let the camera do its thing. And it's nailing some of these. Now it misses here and there because this is a tricky shot for any camera. Seriously, it's not an easy one because the cars are coming out of this shadow. But it nailed a few there. All right. And honestly, it's working great. I think the biggest disadvantage for it is right now is that I can't focus on the cars too soon. I would actually rather focus on them farther away to give the camera the chance to lock onto them. But I have to do it kind of in the last moment because there's this big shadow and it's really dark in there. And I can't even see them on the screen because I have the exposure set for this view, which is much, much brighter. But overall, it's working pretty well. Okay. Okay guys, so what's the conclusion? What's the verdict here? Which method is the best? The answer is all of them. It just depends on the situation and exactly what you need. I find that the tracking AF is really good if subjects are moving towards you and farther away from you more unpredictably. So if they're sometimes close, sometimes far, and you really don't know where, and you want to get them in all these positions, tracking AF will work better for that because you can just let the camera worry about choosing the distance. If you want to shoot at a consistent distance and you're very certain of it, the snap focus will work great because you can just set that distance and forget about it. So for example, if I was shooting things, really far away, like birds in flight on the sky, although this isn't really a camera for bird photos, but just for example, I could just set it on the infinity snap focus, super far away, and never have to worry about focusing at all. Which is a good thing because, for example, if you're shooting against an empty sky, it's kind of hard to focus because it's just blue. Sometimes the camera gets confused by that, any camera does. So it might be hard to focus right on that particular subject. Anyway, while the pinpoint autofocus just kind of gives you an in-between. So you can still choose the distance by focusing on things, but you have to refocus each time if you want to change it, right? So it really depends what you're going for and what's comfortable and makes sense for you, right? So I encourage you to go out there and try out these different modes in different situations, but they all work, very well, so they are useful. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you liked the video, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel and leave any comments or questions you might have below, and I'll be glad to answer them as best as I can and give you my advice on how to get the most out of your RICOH GR. All right? Thanks for watching.